The stage microphone's ready for him. Who wants to ask the first question? Raise a hand, and I don't think he'll be shy to answer.
I know, you got to check yourself. Hi, everyone. Remember me?
Man, nice to see you happy this year.
It's actually nice to be happy. It's fun to be happy, believe it or not.
So all that went on, and now you're looking towards going to Florida and getting the season started with a new format and everything else like that. What is the big thing on your mind with all that change?
Well, you know, a lot of thought, you know, really goes into to the new season with a new life, right? A new chance, new crack at bat, a new manufacturer, new sponsors, new teammates. You know, in a new organization. But what an unbelievable opportunity it is to go out and do what you love to do. Not only do that, but do it in you know, first-class equipment with built by racers that only share one thing in common: the will to go out and win races. I mean, that's all they do. It's all they focus on. It's all they talk about. It's all they care about. You know, there's no. I just said it to somebody in there. There's no fluff and buff. There's no sales pitch when you walk in the door. There's just guys with their heads down working and digging on building race cars that go fast and win races. And those are the hot rides you want to be in.
Absolutely. Kenny Bruce.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Clint, with all the talk about the changes to the format with the points and segments and everything, do you pay attention to that, or are you just more focused on, I'm going to go out there and race and you guys tell me what's going on?
You know, I think as we go to the Daytona 500, you have winning the Daytona 500 on your mind for what, weeks, months, right? That's all you're thinking about is that last lap, you know, in situation to push yourself to win that race, because that's what makes careers. That one race will make your career and solidify you in a sport forever. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see me going for broke, you know, to win that first stage. I don't care to be the first winner of stage one. However, if I find myself in this Yates horsepower up front and running where I want to run, I just might be the first stage winner. But I think you're really going to see that as we progress through the year. Obviously, the sense of urgency as teams look over their shoulder that may or may not have been able to capitalize on those stage wins, to look over at that little tally on the side of your screen and say, "Oh my, I'm in trouble." You know, starting the playoffs, I'm going to be way behind if I don't go out and get some of these stage wins, and that's where I think the sparks are going to fly, and the electricity is really going to vamp up. Not saying that that's not going to happen early, but I think it's going to really show its ugly face, or be a huge you know, gain for you if you have those and have accumulated quite a few of those over the regular season. So let me go on record. This isn't a sales pitch. I've said for years, I believe it's time to look at some sort of an opportunity to break these races up. Not a big fan of long runs, you know, and I know fans aren't either. You know, I'm really happy that NASCAR looked at that, decided to make a move, a very bold move, and change that. And then also take the time to look in depth of any kind of possible, you know, if you're going to make that change, look into it. Let's make sure that we cover all the bases. Let's do it right. Is there any possible thing, anything else that we need to do different? And I like that, you know, protecting that team or teams that dominated the season, and we've seen even dominated the chase in years past that didn't come out, you know, victorious in the championship because of a blown tire or something out of their control. I felt like that needed tweaked a little bit, and I'm glad that they took the chance of you know, creating these stages in the race that are going to give us the excitement and a follow to accumulate those points and put it to good use when we get into the playoffs and the meat of our series. So it isn't a sales pitch. I think that was a much-needed thing, and I think they nailed it. They really did a good job of making sure they covered all the bases so we don't have to do this again for many years to come.
Stan Creekmore's got a question.
Stan Creekmore with Outside the Box. Not Daytona because it's the first race of the season, not Kansas because that's where you're from. What other track are you really anxious to get to now that you're going to be in a car that I'm sure you're confident can win?
You know, I've ran really well at Martinsville several times. I thought where we were the fastest car there, even a few times, and you know, especially like in 12 and 13, you know, and I really enjoyed that racetrack. Look forward to it every year, and it's one track that I feel like I can win at, and win at. You know, if the equipment's underneath me and we make good calls and I make good decisions to take care of the car on the racetrack, I feel like that's a track where we can win and bring one of them clocks home.
Fadden.
Jalen McFadden with NBC Sports. Clint, with everything that you've been through in the last 3 or 4 years, what will it mean to you if and when you win a race again this season?
Well, I mean, hey, let's face it. You're not given anything in this series. This is extremely competitive and very challenging, very difficult situation to win these races in. You're only as good as the people around you, and everybody at Stewart-Haas. Tony and Gene have surrounded me with great people, starting with Booga, my crew chief, to you know, to my teammates, to the sponsors. Everything at Stewart-Haas is lined up to win races and all in to do so, to switching to Fords this year. No other manufacturer has pushed harder to have success in motorsports this year than Ford has. It's not only a push in NASCAR, it's a push all over motorsports. So you got to associate yourself with those good people that are all in for winning races, and that gives you confidence that you can go out and win races. And will it be special? You're damn right it will. And I'll embrace it, but it's just like the last time I won a race. You head to the next race wanting to win that one. You know, I mean, success only once you know makes you hungry for more success, and it's been a while, you know. But more importantly, I want to get established as a consistent front runner, not a sporadic show up and run good here and be bad the next week. I mean, we've got to get consistent week in and week out and perfect that and keep perfecting it, and then you'll win races.
Holly.
Holly K, NASCAR.com. Hey, Clint, could you talk a little bit about your relationship with Tony and how it is actually now you finally get to, you know, work right alongside him? Are you guys, you know, just your relationship together and how you two get along?
You know, I think we get along really well. You know, he's a really good owner. You know, that was the side of Tony that I didn't know. He obviously is a lot of fun to be around as a race car driver, and as Tony Stewart, you know, as Smoke. But as an owner, I really watched him, you know, over the off season, in particular the Christmas party. I went down to the Christmas party, the company Christmas party, and I look over and Santa Claus is there. And then I got to looking a little closer, and it's Tony. Tony is Santa Claus, which, by the way, he fit perfectly into the outfit. I mean, it was like it was tailored to him. But nonetheless, it was old Jolly St. Nick, Tony Stewart, that really took the time and walked all around and you know, embraced his employees and thanked his employees and made them feel like their family, you know, like you wanted him to do and like you hoped that he would be. And that was every bit the role he played in ownership at Stewart-Haas from what I saw of him as an owner. And then as an owner of my car and my boss, right, he's given me a great deal of confidence of putting me in that race car, as has, you know, Gene Haas. I mean, people have asked me today, you know, how do you have the confidence to get back, you know, to where you need to be? And that's it. I mean, that's all the confidence you need is you have a 3-time champion of the sport and a big-time owner in motorsports that had the confidence in you to put you in the thing. So that gave me all the confidence I needed to be behind the wheel.
Final question, David?
Clint, David Scott from the Charlotte Observer. Hey. How did Dale Jr.'s situation last year maybe change how you view concussions and how severe they can be and how it might affect, you know, if you had one going forward?
Well, I think I have, but if you've ever taken a concussion test, you'd swear you left there with a concussion. They're hard. But, you know, nonetheless, the serious answer is it is a very serious thing, and it's a scary thing because you really just don't know enough about them. I mean, I grew up racing motorcycles. I've slapped my head on the ground. I was pretty sure, you know, I had a concussion. I've woke up with the guy letting your winning that down, screaming at you, "Are you okay?" You know, and it zones in, and what you thought was 10 guys is actually just one big guy. You know, but you know, the reality is that is real, right? And Dale's been doing this a long time, you know, a lot longer than I have. He's had a lot of bad wrecks, you know, and everybody's different. That's the only thing I really know of it. You watch football, these football games, you know, in the off season, I've really had a chance to watch the football games and things like that. And I really do believe that everybody's different on how they react to them, and not everybody has the same, you know, impacts or the same crashes, or some people are more fortunate than others, you know. But for me personally, you know, I think you'll know, you know, when you're not good and you don't need to be in that race car. And certainly talking to him, there was no question in his mind he didn't need to be in that race car. So, you know, as big of dominant, you know, force he is in this sport, and you know what he means to this sport, I thought it showed, you know, just how serious a concussion can be. And I'm glad that he spoke up and said, "Hey, I got a problem and I need to get out," you know, for all of our sakes.
Thanks, Clint. We've got our
We're going to end it on that.
Yeah, we're going to end it on that.
Debbie Downer.
Well, you know, Pope wanted to ask you a question.
This is a new year for
if
me,
you're
and we're going
hanging
to end
out,
it with
Thomas
Dale
will
Jr.
ask you a cool question.
Just ask me something.
There you go. Ask him something good. Ask him about his dirt cars or something.
I'll ask him.
Oh, I know what you're fixing to ask him.
Clint, when you change manufacturers, does it necessitate a change of manufacturers for your dirt team? And how do you think your guys will fare this season on the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series?
Well, you know, let me tell you, you want to be surrounded with people that are all in and invested in racing and motorsports. And I just said a little bit ago, Ford, there's no other manufacturer that is pushing harder in 2017 to have more success on the racetrack than Ford. So very, very excited about that. And, you know, as far as the dirt teams, those are the first, you know, that's what kicks off my racing season, is down there in Speed Weeks, starting at Golden Isles and then down to East Bay and then Volusia. So get a good chance to watch the dirt guys. Hopefully they're kicking butt. Been invested in and working hard, and those, you know, those guys' success too. So it's going to be a fun year. Thank you guys for covering the sport, and hopefully see you a lot soon.
See, you got to talk about Real Deal.
Yes.
Club 29.
Sorry.
That's not bad. Thank you. Clint Bowyer.
Are we done?
We're done.
Get
Checkered
out of
flag.
here. Day over.
Clear. You got about a 15-minute break before Rice and McDowell come up. And thank you for spending time with us.
Welcome to the stage now, Michael McDowell, driver of the K-Love Chevrolet. Michael, thanks for making some time. How's your day been so far?
My day's been great. Just enjoying it. It's nice to be back here. You know, every time I get to this time of year, I know some people dread media day. There's a lot happening, but I think about it as I got one more year. I got another shot at it, and thankful for the opportunity to run full-time this year.
Before we open this up to the floor for questions, your take on yesterday's big announcement and the whole stages and the reformatting of how races are going to be run?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a unique and fun thing for us to dive into as a small team. Gives us opportunity to be pretty aggressive strategy-wise and maybe steal a segment win in there. And I think that it's going to be new for all of us. We're going to have to see how everything plays out. But I feel like for us as a team that's looking to get exposure and looking to gain value for our partners, this is a great way to do it.
Last year, Chris Buescher got a win through kind of a magic act at Pocono. Do things like that give you, as being a member of a smaller team, some hope that, hey, if that can happen to them, something like that could happen for us?
Yeah, for sure. You seeing Chris and seeing what their team did last year, it made you wish that you're a bit more aggressive, you know, and how that played out was perfect. And it was a win-win for the small guys, and it was fun for them to be able to do that. And you know, but it's not just about getting into the chase; it's about being competitive all year long. And when you get into the chase, being able to do something with it.
All right, let's open up the floor for questions. We'll start right over here, Zach, and then to Matt.
Second Tansworthy front stretch. For the first time in your Cup career, you actually have expectations going into a season to run well. So, you know, how you ended last year with LFR, what does that feel like to have expectations to actually perform well in the Cup Series?
Yeah, you're right on, and for us, you know how we finished last year, running in the top 20, finishing with the top 10. We have high hopes going into 2017. We've done a really great job in the off season, infrastructure-wise, and just really getting prepared for this year. So we hope to you know, to pick up right where we left off, and really to do that consistently. Now that we're running full time, you know, to run in those low 20s and be in the teens, you know, gives you an opportunity to, you know, steal a good result, and hopefully we'll be able to do that every weekend.
Matt, and then we'll go over here to Daniel.
Matt Weaver, AutoWeek.com. Given your prowess on road courses and what you were able to do last year, were you monitoring the situation at Charlotte, and how would you feel about a Cup race or an Xfinity race on the road course there?
Yeah, I say we add as many road course races as we can. We'll do as many as we can. Daytona's got a Rollville. Texas has got a Rollville. New Hampshire's even got a road course. You know, obviously I'm biased. I'd love to see more road racing happen. It's great racing. It puts on a great show. You know, you see in the Xfinity Series, Road America, Mid-Ohio, great races. You know, Watkins Glen, Sonoma in the Cup Series. So I feel like the racing's really great. You know, Charlotte, I'm not sure how legitimate that is. I know the test was. It's a tight, twisty Rollville. It would be a challenge. You know, Daytona obviously is much more suited for something like that, and there's some other places. But yeah, I'd love to see it.
Daniel.
Dale McFadden with NBC Sports. You talked about how today for you represents a new shot, a new opportunity. What has it been like for you for the first time in your career? You've been doing this since 2008, to be getting closer and closer to February and knowing you're going to be able to run in every single Cup race for the first time.
Yeah, it's kind of a unique feeling for me. Like you said, I've been doing this since 2008, and I've run a lot of races, but not at a high level, not at the level that I wanted to be at. And so this is the first year where I felt like I'm in competitive equipment with the right people, the right parts, the right partners to go out there and really show what we can do and do it at full time. You know, last year I think I did 30 races, and Ty Dillon did the other 6. So it was pretty close to full time, so it wasn't a huge jump. But to know that, you know, now you have a shot if you do win a race to be in the chase and to do all those things that small teams strive to do is definitely something we look forward to the challenge.
Other questions, please?
Another one. Is there any track that you've missed out on over the course of those years that you're looking forward to getting to race on for the first time, if any?
No, I don't think there's any that I've missed out on. There are a few that it's been a while, actually, and so that'll be kind of fun just to go back to those places. But I did that a little bit last year. You know, the races that I didn't do were Pocono, Dover, Kentucky. You know, I haven't been in a Cup car in Kentucky in quite a few years, and obviously new asphalt and repave will be kind of new for me. So just not really too many tracks that I haven't raced at, but to be in that rhythm and that sequence is a big part of it too, is just going every weekend and building on your results from the last weekend and just getting into that rhythm.
What's your level of expectation? What do you see now starting into this full season that would make you happy when it gets to the end?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, we always set goals. And, you know, one thing I learned in this sport is if you don't set realistic goals, you make yourself miserable. I mean, because you always feel like you're not accomplishing anything. So for us, when we run in the top 20, we celebrate that. And we feel good about what we've done when we run in the top 20. I know that might seem kind of crazy because we're all chasing wins and things like that. But for a small team with what we have, that's a big deal. Now we've sort of progressed from that stage where, you know, it's not just those top 20s that we want. We want to be able to be legitimate contenders at, you know, several racetracks. Obviously, road courses and speedways are a big part of that. But to run consistently up front and to sort of be the best of the rest. You know, there's not that many independent single car teams out there anymore, and we feel like we're excelling at a fast rate.
All right, Chris.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. Michael, in the midst of the championship and everything that happened at Homestead, was kind of overlooked that you guys had a top 10 finish, and it was your first top 10 finish in Cup on a non-restricted plate track. How big was that for you and the team, and did you guys learn something there that you can apply to 2017?
Yeah, for sure. It was a big run for us to run top 10 at Homestead, and it wasn't like we fell into it or, there's, a big wreck where we kind of fell into it, but we legitimately raced up there all day. And, for us, what it did is it gave us a lot of confidence and hope going into the off season to, put our heads down and continue to work hard. What we learned, we learned that the details matter, and that, Todd Parrott brought a tremendous amount of experience to our organization. And in the off season, we've made big changes personnel-wise, and we've added to the existing foundation that's already at LFR, and we feel like we've really put ourselves in a great position.
Any other questions here for Michael? Over here.
Jessica Ruffin with NASCAR.com. You've got Todd Parrott returning to crew chief, a change you guys made late last season. How do you feel about building on the progress you guys made as a duo together this season?
Yeah, it's been great to work with Todd. It's pretty easy. Sometimes you have that transition period where you're trying to get to know a guy, you're trying to learn, how they communicate. And Todd and I really didn't have that. We kind of jumped in, and we both had something to prove, and we wanted to do it. And when you have success, that helps it, when you start off on a good foot. So him and I have been working really closely together, and he believes in me, I believe in him. I think that's probably the biggest chemistry factor that matters, is when you have a crew chief that believes that he has the driver that can do the job, and vice versa. That's where the chemistry starts.
All right, one more. Daniel?
Where's your Road America trophy currently residing?
I don't want to tell you. It's on the floor in my guest room because my wife made me take it down to put up Christmas decorations. She was tired of it being in the main walkway. I know. And honestly, I'm going to that Phoenix test next week. I'm probably going to bring it home to Phoenix. I don't live there anymore, but that's where I'm from, and let my dad store it for a little while. It's trophies to me, they've never been significant. I mean, I would rather have just the memory of being in victory lane and the pictures of the people you're in victory lane. The only trophy I have is that Road America trophy from my career, and I have given away all of them, and I'm planning on giving away that one as well.
Well, Michael, thank you for making time for us today. Best of luck to you and your team this year.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
We have 2 more drivers scheduled, and then that'll put the wraps on our group questions here today. So thank you very much. Welcoming to the stage a driver that's almost completed his media day obligations. Driver of the M&M's Toyota, of course, from Joe Gibbs Racing, and a past champion, Kyle Busch. Kyle, thanks for making time today. We appreciate you being here.
What's the word of the day?
Enhancements. You can do a lot with that.
I'm excited.
That was the word of yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to directly open the floor up here for questions. So raise your hands, and we'll try to get to you as fast as you can. Let's go with Jordan over here.
Jordan Bianchi, SBNation.com. Kyle, how involved were you in the decision, or how much input did you have in this decision, the changes that were announced yesterday?
Drivers' Council had a little bit of say in all of that. Obviously, it was a huge industry-wide. All the stakeholders were involved in everything. So I'm sure you guys have heard that many a times, and it's the truth, So being a part of the council last year, certainly knowing a little bit about some of the stuff, but not a whole lot about the developments and how they were kind of coming together. I think late December and January, when most of the decisions were finally being made, but some of the ideas that were shared earlier on were last year's councils as well.
All right, back to the back, Tom Jensen.
Hi, Kyle. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. I was just wondering if you could share with us what your experiences were at the Race of Champions.
Yeah, the Race of Champions was really fun. It was unique, and having the opportunity to go down there to Miami and race against all the other champions of the world, let's say, with Formula One and IndyCar and Rally and stuff like that. So to meet all those guys and to spend time with them in the locker room, it was a real locker room setting for us. was neat, and to kind of get the camaraderie going between everybody and the friendly type relationships that were going on. But then knowing that when you got out on the racetrack, all they wanted to do was cut your throat. So you know, it was fun because you got into all these different vehicles at different times. The tires were cold, the brakes were cold, the tires may have been hot. They're putting different fans in the cars to ride with you. It could be a 120-pound girl, or it could be a 250-pound guy. You just didn't know what was coming next, you know. So all your notes that you're making with all the different vehicles and stuff of the braking zones and the different things that you were doing on the course would certainly change with you know, changing people out in the seat next to you.
Kurt said you may or may have not accidentally put a car in reverse.
Yeah, I did. I did. I was messing around with the shift lever. I was waiting for Vettel. It was right before the final race of the Nations Cup, and you know, I had been driven those things only a couple times in the whole time that I had been there, and I just kept pushing forward on the lever. Well, there's a little flip lever right underneath the top of the shifter that if you push forward on that and you push forward on the shifter, it goes from neutral to reverse. So I forgot about that little flip lever because I was just making sure I was in neutral, and when I let out the clutch, it was in reverse, so got a little shot backwards. No harm, no foul.
Okay.
I didn't run over anybody. Scott Speed ran over somebody, almost.
All right, let's go right here, please, to Jenna.
Two questions. Are you still on the driver council?
Yeah, somehow I got voted back in.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
And we talked to Kenseth. We've heard from Kenseth already on Carl's retirement. Just how did you take that, and what did you make of that?
Yeah, it was certainly, I think, a shock to the entire industry, but also to us as a team at Joe Gibbs Racing. It was a shock to me. It was something that I didn't expect to see happen. You know, I know that Carl ran really, really hard, really, really strong there at the end of the year, and obviously was probably the car to beat there at Homestead. He was the best car all weekend long, was the fastest guy, and, you know, due to unforeseen circumstances there towards the end of the race, just, you know, got eliminated that way. But he was the class of the field there at Homestead and had a shot to win the championship, and then all of a sudden just decides he doesn't want to do it anymore, you know. So that's kind of a shock to everyone, I would presume. But, you know, it's his own decision to make, and you got to give it to a guy when he says he's had enough and he's done, and he walks away. And if that continues to hold true, then, you know, more power to him. But if there's something else waiting in the wings, we all got to wait and find out.
Let's go back to Brant, and then we'll go over to Lewis.
Coming off a strong year such as JGR had last year with a four-driver veteran lineup, how much do you think the team's going to be affected in the near term, taking Carl out of the equation and putting a newcomer in?
I think it's going to hurt the overall team a little bit, but if you look at us individually, I don't think it's necessarily going to hurt, you know, the 18 car or the 11 car or the 20 car. And I mean that by, you know, our overall stock last year was all the JGR cars were up front each and every week, and I don't know what our average finish was as a company. Let's just say it was 5. And Hendrick Motorsports' average finish as a company was 8 because they had one of their guys kind of struggle sometimes. You know, this year I would say that our average finish of a 5 isn't going to be there. You know, we're going to have a little bit of struggle from Suarez, but it's going to be nothing but a learning experience for him being a rookie and coming in and experience these Cup cars with the less downforce and the more horsepower and stuff like that he has to get accustomed to. So, you know, for us other three, I would presume our average finish would still stay at a 5 if you cut out the 19 car.
I will go over here to Lewis, and then we'll get to Chris and maybe work in a couple of more questions.
Yeah, Louis Frank of Reuters. Speaking of the Race of Champions, Kurt said he was amazed that the Europeans like Coulthard could still go fast after partying so hard. We know you're fast. Can you party as hard as the Europeans? So.
No way, no way. I've been fighting a sinus infection since I got down there, so I still have it right now if you can't tell. But it was not for me to be partying this weekend. No, I tried to get as much rest as I could because I knew every morning I was going to be up at 8 o'clock no matter what, with little Brexton ready to go. So he was down there with us as well too. So I heard some of the stories those guys from Johnson told me about years past. Those guys certainly know how to run hard, and so I was wanting to hang out with them a little bit, and we did on. Was it Saturday night? I think we all had a little get-together dinner type thing. I was out by 11. My eyes were closing themselves. So, you know, I was definitely not going to hang.
Chris?
ChrisKnightCatchfence.com. Kyle, can I shift gears for a second and talk about KBM? I feel like that you guys have a pretty good organization for 2017 with all the additions of drivers and crew chiefs and whatnot. Just looking to get your analysis on that and then your Xfinity schedule for this year.
Yeah, I would certainly like to think that, KBM is slated for success this year. I wouldn't have done the things or have the things that we have if I didn't think so. We got Christopher Bell coming back with Rudy Fugle for a full-time ride and going after the championship. He was close last year. He made the Final Four at Homestead, so that was really good. Rudy obviously won it as an owner's champion with William Byron, unfortunately not being eligible at Homestead. And then we've got Noah Gragson, who could be the next William Byron. We don't know. That comes out of K&N and lights the world on fire in our trucks and does a really good job. So he'll be a force to be reckoned with, I'm sure. And then the 51 truck filled out with my 5 races and Harrison Burton, Todd Gilliland, and Myatt Snyder. So those young guys are certainly wet behind the ears, don't have a whole lot of experience. Myatt is the only one old enough to run the bigger tracks that I'm not going to be in, so we got to put him in Daytona and some of the other bigger places. Todd and Harrison, being the younger guys, have to run the short tracks, and we'll try to get them enough experience in order to get them something to look forward to for the following season, and maybe more of a more races for them in the following year.
All right, let's go over to George, and then we'll get to Jenna, and that'll put the wrap on it.
Xfinity? I don't know what my Xfinity races are. If they're not announced, I don't know what they are. When they get announced, I'll find out.
Kyle over here to your right, George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. Can you, in your mind, define the terms teammates for in NASCAR? Because obviously it's a different dynamic than any other ball and stick sports, because sometimes you're working together and sometimes you're not necessarily doing that. So just kind of in your mind, just kind of explain the concept.
Yeah, I guess the concept is, we're teammates when we're all in behind closed doors, working together, communicating with each other about our cars, our equipment, and making all of our stuff better, making ourselves better, trying to communicate and help each other out and to elevate our expectations as well as our abilities in being able to go out there and produce results as a team. That's what we do for teammates, for Joe Gibbs. And then when you're out on the racetrack, your teammates collectively with Joe Gibbs Racing drivers, but in all honesty, you're out there competing as you would against everybody being separate. I think we found that out last year at Richmond, and maybe Carl still felt bad enough that's why he wanted to retire. He didn't want to go through that anymore. No. But I guess he gets to quit without me paying him back, so disappointed in that aspect. But no, love you, Carl, seriously. Those are the sorts of things that you have to not look forward to as being teammates with someone. Is you would think that you raise someone a little bit differently or expect a little bit different, and yet those sorts of things can happen while you're still teammates.
All right, let's wrap up this session. We'll go back to Jenna.
The day that Carl and Daniel's swap was announced, there was some joke that Coach had said, "Oh yeah, Daniel, just go to your teammates anytime you need anything," and Daniel might have gone to you one too many times or something like that. Is he overly eager? I mean, what's it like to work with him?
He is. He's very eager, that's for sure. He definitely was either told by Coach or Steve D'Souza or both that, hey, you better go use the resources as much as you can, and so go use Kyle, because we were teammates in the Xfinity Series. So his rookie season in Xfinity, he came to me every single Thursday. I mean, I pretty much knew it was set on the calendar. Daniel Suarez phone call, 3 o'clock. And we would talk about that weekend's racetrack and about what to do and what to expect and to this and to that and practice and tire wear and everything else. And then during our practice breaks that we would have with Xfinity, if I didn't have to go back to a Cup car, he'd come over to my hauler and he'd be right there, So he wore me out, that's for sure. It was a good thing. It wasn't a bad thing. But then we started getting to the racetracks for the second time, and I was like, no. You can't do this again. You already were there once. I already gave you everything I knew the first time, so no more. And I think that's what he was alluding to, where I told him he's got to cut it back a little bit. But this past year, he came to me a couple times, and I says, hey, you don't use me as much as you used to. Wow, you told me not to. And I says, no, I didn't say that you couldn't. I just said, use me sparingly. Like once every 5 weeks is okay. So, now that he has me and Matt and Denny and Martin to go to, I would be once every 5 weeks again. So I'm like, that works. It's good. Jones the same way. Maybe we can even just get him on the same call and I can do 2 at once. Sounds pretty good.
All right, well, it's worth being here all day long to hear Kyle Busch do Daniel Suarez. Kyle, thanks a lot, man. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
No problem, man. Adios.
Got a little pause and then Harvick.
Okay.
Final driver of the day is joining us on stage from Stewart-Haas, Kevin Harvick. We have a first question already set for Kevin. Well, how are things?
Everything is great.
How's the little one?
Everybody's doing good. We have had a great winter and enjoyed our time off, and we came home January 8th and flipped that switch back on to get back in race mode. So it's been fun to go to the shop and walk around and see everything that's going on. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the switch to Ford, and I think that's definitely a lot of motivation for the year to make that right. So it's been fun so far.
Question there. It looks like Greg.
Greg Engel, cupscene.com. You raced against Tony, and then you came over to his team. What's the differences between? Now he's a full-time team owner because he's not driving Cup anymore. What's the biggest differences that you've seen with Tony Stewart as a driver as opposed to an owner? Anything surprising or?
Well, I think I came in at probably 3 unique years, for Tony in his career. So, I don't know that was at the highest level that Tony Stewart was at in his driving career with all the things that he's had going. But the one thing that I can say that has been very different when you're around Tony, you know how Tony can be. You get to see him in the competitive element of what he does. But for me, the couple things that I've learned about Tony is how good he is with people. He may not know exactly what's going on in a situation, but he's very good at gathering all the information, processing that information, and then going out and making things happen. He can make things happen. He's very good with people. He's very good at sitting people down and talking to them and getting things figured out. And the second thing is, you would think he's going to be that guy that gets mad and bangs his fist down, and he's actually the guy that's going to sit in the room, not say a word. If he does say something, he's going to say a little until he has his thoughts gathered and truly understands, what he wants to say. So he's definitely. Now, don't get me wrong. He can go on a tirade, and if he already knows how he feels about something, and move on. But that's not going to happen, in my opinion. That's not going to happen in an SHR environment, in a competition meeting or something like that.
Next question, Jordan.
You've known Jimmy Johnson for quite a while now, going back to your Ron Hornaday's couch. What is Jimmy like away from the track, as a person, as a competitor, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy's just he's a good guy. I mean, he's somebody who's obviously done a lot in our sport, and he's been around it for a long time, and you see the accomplishments, but I don't spend a lot of time with him, outside of the race car, but I've known him and know that he's a good person. He's a great dad, and does a lot outside of racing with his foundation.
Holly Kane.
Hey, Kevin, could you speak a little bit about what your expectations and the team expectations are switching to Ford? I know I can remember we would ask Martin Truex, do we give you, 2 months before we really think you're going to kick in with the Toyota? And he, right off the bat had such a fantastic year. But what are your expectations and the team's expectations, switching manufacturers and getting right back on track?
Yeah, I think, there's definitely a little bit of, I think everybody's a little bit anxious to get on the racetrack next week in Phoenix, just for the fact that, we do have a new rules package. We know where we were last year from a lot of different avenues, but, the hardest things to overcome are going to be, a lot of the things that come with the technology side of things, whether it be turning on the, pulling things out of the database, putting them into, the simulation programs, understanding all the tools that we have. So, there may not be anything that you guys ever see on the racetrack. We may never miss a beat on the racetrack, and that's our goal, is to not miss a beat and, contend to win races and progress things through the year and get better. So our goals haven't changed. We want to come out of the box strong, compete for race wins and try to run for another championship as we get to the end of the year. But, throughout, I think you have to try to temper that enthusiasm a little bit, just for the fact that you have to be realistic about everything that we just did, and in the Truex situation, that was one car, not four. So I think it's been a massive undertaking for the company to not only turn the whole company over from a manufacturer standpoint, but to bring in 70 or 80 new people, start your own chassis shop, which we've kind of done a lot of these things, but we've never done them to this magnitude. So and mainly not because we didn't know how to do those things before. It's just you really didn't want to waste the time. You didn't have to. So I think there's been a lot of planning. There's been a lot of things put in place, but I think there still needs to be realistic expectations as to things that could happen, or where you're at, or how things go. And I think all of us know that, and we'll work hard. If it's good, we're going to work hard to get better. If it's not good, we're going to work hard to get better. So we just need a direction. We need to know where we stand, and I think that's just a little bit of the unknown right now. And obviously, everybody's worked a lot, and and that happens. As a team owner, this was the worst time of year because you had all your road crew guys in the shop with the guys in the shop that are there every day throughout the year, and those two don't mix well when they're around each other a lot. So. It's just an interesting time of year, and it'll be good for us to get out of the shop and get to the racetrack next week. So it's all going to be good, and we'll make it that way. It's just a matter of you gotta know where to start.
Next question right there.
Yeah, Kevin, over here to your right. George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. Teammates in NASCAR are obviously very different than ball and stick sports, and obviously there's an occasional competitive little snafus that go on. But how would you define a teammate within your group?
I guess I don't 100% understand your question. How would I define what?
The dynamics of, just talk about the dynamics of having a teammate in NASCAR as opposed to having a teammate in football, basketball, whatever.
Well, I don't think they're any different. I think for us, and when I sit on the outside and look at other sports, occasionally you'll see them pushing and shoving and punching each other and on the bench, or after the game, or on the sidelines, and those emotions are the same for us, and sometimes those run high and things happen, and you have to work through them and not take them personal, because there is a lot of emotion. I mean, there's a lot of times I'll walk around the garage and somebody will say, "Man, you were a jerk yesterday." I'm like, "Really? What did I say? What did I do?" And you get in that competitive frame of mind, and you can't take all that personally amongst each other. And I think for us, we can work through things and figure them out. But it's not going to be any different than any other sport. You're going to have problems that you have to work through, and it's never going to be perfect.
Just under 2 minutes, so Stan, if you could be brief, we may get one more.
Stan Creekmore, outside the box, Kevin. You're a front runner all the time. You don't lay in the back. So does the change in the points really cause you any concern whatsoever?
No. For us, that's the mentality that Rodney has put in since day one. I'm not here to finish. I'm not saying he's not here to finish second in practice. He wants to win practice. He wants to sit on the pole, and he wants to lead every lap and win the race. That's his goal. And I think as they prepare the cars during the week, I mean that's the goal during the week. Obviously, you don't win all the races, you don't win all the practices, but for the last 3 years we've won our fair share. And I think that the new point system has set up well for us. You know, and really I don't think we'll change anything as to how we race on the track. I think we'll change, you know, the strategies are going to evolve and change as you go through, you know, these segments. So we'll have to get adapted to that, and a lot of there's a lot of things that could move around as to how you work those things, as to when the cautions fall, how your fuel mileage is. I mean, there's a million things, but there are carrots out there for you to reach and grab, and you know that bonus point is big for the chase. Those 10 points are big for your year-end total, and for us, I'm big on having to find things to go out and grab and motivate yourself every week. They're not hard to find, but that's how we motivate ourselves on a week-to-week basis, is to go out and find those things and say, you know, we haven't won here, or, you know, we need to make up some points, and we need to do it this weekend. So there's a lot of things there's more things to motivate yourself now than there were, and we didn't have any problem motivating ourselves for 38 weeks in the past 3 years. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for spending time with us. We know you got other places to go after this, and your 10 minutes are clear. Good to see you, Kevin. Thank you. So that is our driver.